Hello, I'm Linda Graham, author of Resilience, Powerful Practices for Bouncing Back from Disappointment, Difficulty, and even Disaster. In this series of conversations on resilience, you'll learn from many experts offering practices that help them recover their own resilience. In this conversation with Michelle Gale, we're learning many body-based practices to recover our equilibrium when life gets messy, and also why resilience really requires us to be in relationship, to be in community, to recover that equilibrium. Welcome to this conversation exploring resources for recovering resilience. Today I'm talking with Michelle Gale. Michelle and I met at a Neurodharma group. It's a gathering of people interested in the confluence of neuroscience and contemplative practice and psychology. Michelle is a longtime mindfulness practitioner. She's currently a corporate mindfulness trainer, focusing on the power of presence and living with intention. She was previously the head of learning and leadership development at Twitter, has worked with many high-growth startup groups. She's also currently working with the board of the Holistic Life Foundation and is a strategic advisor for Mindful Schools and the Wisdom 2.0 conference. Michelle is also the author of Mindful Parenting in a Messy World, which is a very, very wise and necessary book. Thank you. And thank you for being here, Michelle, today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
So if we see resilience as capacities of facing and dealing with life's challenges and crises, being able to cope skillfully and effectively with everyday disappointments and even extraordinary disasters, do you have an example of you or the people that you work with of having to draw on resilience, finding your capacities to bounce back again? What was helpful at the time?
Yeah. I'll start just by sharing how I was introduced to mindfulness. So mindfulness is definitely my go-to, this kind of U-turn practice of looking within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally found mindfulness when I was in college and really struggling and lonely and disconnected from my family, and somehow ended up at a Unity church, just kind of followed my nose and started sitting regularly on Sundays there. And very quickly, I sensed into that as soon as I get still, that I'm able to hold more in my life, more of my difficulties with ease and balance. So that was how I got interested. And now it shows up in my life all the time, right? I was just facilitating at a program down at Disney, and it was a big group, and the end got very disorganized. And I was noticing, I was able to pause and stop and notice, oh, I'm feeling a little shame. I'm feeling worry. I'm a little scared. And just in naming that and being kind to myself, able to just do something different, right? Respond in a new way and bring in a little humor and move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific go-to practice that helps you do that U-turn in the moment?
Yeah, I do. One I love is the stop practice. People may be familiar with it, but just the S is stop. Don't do anything else. Just stop and just have that sacred pause that is so needed when we're in the midst of something difficult. And the T is take a breath, right? Which really grounds us in that sacred pause. And O is observe what's going on, like what's happening for me, what emotions am I feeling? What am I sensing? What's around me? Like, what are the expressions on others' faces? Right? Really observing the situation like a scientist almost.
Right.
And then, P, proceed with just a little more skill and openness and wisdom, hopefully.
So do you find you can practice and cultivate these tools ahead of time so that they're ready when you face a major stressor, when there's an emergency?
Yeah. A very new practice I have in the morning. I used to like to try to get up and sit in the morning and like sit on my cushion in my little corner and the whole thing. And I found once I got up, I often ended up, taking care of the dogs, and then my kids would wake up and I'd kind of miss my opportunity in the morning. And so I've just started laying in bed. I was on retreat not long ago, John Kabat-Zinn, and he suggested just don't even get out of bed, just Shavasana, that corpse pose, lay in bed. And I've been doing that the last couple of months every morning. And I always wake up early. I'm an early riser anyway. So I sit for a while and then I journal. which is I'm a pretty on and off been a pretty big journaler in my life, but journaling about like what my experience is from my sit, what I'm struggling with, like what I think the day might bring, just really that internal U-turn again, but on paper. And
Yeah.
there's been a real sweetness and a smoothing out even more of my days when I do have something go wrong, which happens every day. Right? I have family and work and the whole thing. So things go sideways, and yeah, it's really been supporting me.
So what do you do if things go sideways and it's really hard to come back to that stable center point again? What can you do when there's just too much overwhelm and it's hard to find the resilience?
Yeah, I think, for me, when things are really hard and I'm not able to bounce back, I'm very up here. I notice I'm very like up here in my body. And so the body for me is such a beautiful way to be able to practice to come back. So depending where I am, if I'm in a place where I can lie down and do a body scan, like really just slowly move through the body and sense it. If I'm in the moment and I'm realizing, oh, I'm struggling here, I had a friend years ago say, just feel your feet, feel your feet. So just feeling my feet on the ground in that moment when I'm having a hard time can help, or putting my hands, there's some really wonderful research I'm sure you know of just putting your hands somewhere on the body, just reground. So the body, the body really works for me coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the time we have left here, are there any additional insights or questions or even things that people don't normally associate with resilience but seem to be important that we should remember or know about?
Resilience, for the thing that's coming up for me, is that resilience requires us also to be in relationship. I just have this image of the redwood tree, that has actually the narrow roots, but they're all connected at the bottom. So we can work on ourselves, and that's so important. And I think that community and being able to reach out and have support is such a critical part of being able to have resilience in our day-to-day.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for being here today and sharing the wisdom and your warmth and your good practice. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So this interview and all the interviews in this series will be archived on my website, lindagraham-mft.net. May they be truly useful to you and yours.